Hi, this is Lynn from KathyQuilts, and I want to introduce this new video. I know it's a really long one, but it has so much in it, and anybody that will watch it over and over again can learn a ton of things, and best of all, it's free. So please watch it, leave your comments so that we can help you, and hope you enjoy the video.
I don't want to see all this.
No, it's okay.
Okay, we're going to place a design in these 3 blocks. So I'm going to find my block design, and it won't let me do anything, so I've got to set my parameters. So I'm going to go up there. This is a big quilt.
It's just good. Go ahead. So that's the rest of your safe zone.
I have to find my design. Okay, this is the design I'm using.
So that one's on point.
No,
So,
it's not.
Well,
oh, yes.
Are you?
Are you filming this?
Yeah, I am.
Oh.
No, I just have a question.
What?
No, okay. So you have 4 points.
I'm gonna.
So go to that corner.
I'm not. I'm going in about 1/4 inch.
Okay.
That's okay. And it says that's outside my line, so I need to roll this just 1 notch because I'm getting to the end of my quilt and there's more. It's going to be tighter as I get to the end. So I'm going to go in about 1/4 inch, set that design. I'm going to set that next block. Okay, now I need to make sure that this design is going to actually stay inside the block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going up here to plugins, touch that. I'm going to use this marking tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it exactly in the center. Sometimes I drop the needle. I do my first point. Sometimes I do it along the way because not all blocks are. You can see that so far so good. It's going to land inside the block. I have 1 more block to do, so I'm going to also mark it. I have 3 blocks on here, but it looks like I did 1 the other night before I stopped for the night.
So that marking tool is really handy.
Okay, so you can see that, yes, all the features. I know that there's this one little tail on this feather that sometimes touches the border, so that's why I moved it in just a tiny amount. So now I'm just going to pull my bobbin. So I'm going to pull the bobbin, and it will move to the very center of the block. My QuiltMotion's really squeaky.
Yeah, it's like 8 years old.
Still works great. Hold your tails. I'm going to hold the tails. just keep an eye on that so it doesn't go outside of the parameter. It's going to happen about right here if it does. Perfect. That's where I wanted it to go, is about 1/4 inch away from that corner.
So is that different with every pattern? Some seem to need to be...
Well, it's because of this right here. Because I don't want that to go over the line. So, sure, do a test on every single pattern you use. I've used this design several times, so I knew that that would be like that before I started the quilt. So now that design's done, I'm going to move to this next block over here. So I don't have to go all the way back and do a different design. I'm just going to slide the design over. So I'm going to go to the furthest point first so my design doesn't get tweaked. So I'm going to do that one first and then come and do the others. If I were to do this one first, it would be all mixed up and I'd have to get out of the program. And I'm going to come and do this one. And I could drop the needle down everywhere I want to do it. But can you see that's in that parameter again?
Yeah, it's still
so
in
that
your
works
bounding
great.
box. That's so cool.
So now I'm just going to hit quilt and then I'll pull the bobbin again and I'll have this last one done. That's right in the center. There we go. Okay, I just ran out of my bobbin and I'm thinking this might help somebody that runs out in the middle of a design. So I can't move my machine, I can't pull up bobbin thread, or I'm out of my bobbin. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here into the toolbox. I could release the carriage, but I am going to release the whole sewing machine so I can sew with the sewing machine if I need. So now I'm going to go back. I need to unpick about 1 inch of threads because it does a tight thing when it's really close to the end, probably from the way I wrap the bobbin on there.
Also, the bobbin, it doesn't have the same tension anymore because,
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's totally it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just unpicking about 1 inch of this, and then I'm going to replace the bobbin, and then I'll go back and stitch better stitches. You wouldn't notice it. My customer's not going to notice it, but I noticed that it's too tight in this little area. And so it knew it was running out, but I really didn't pay attention. So
we could have used the bobbin estimator, but you just kind of
I
have
just
a rough
get tired
idea
of it.
anyway.
So what I'm going to do is I've got to go over here to the edge because I've got to reach underneath to get that bobbin out. So here's my new bobbin.
And maybe people selling the bobbins don't want us to say, but your iron bobbins working there from your gamel.
So I'm gonna wind one more bobbin. It could be the way I wrap the bobbin, you know, it's tight there at the end, but Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and see where I ran out. And the reason I wanted my machine to me have control is I'm gonna manually pull the bobbin thread up on this because I want it in the exact spot.
I'm gonna come over on that side.
I want it in the exact spot. So I just saw where it had ended. I backed up about 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna take 1 or 2 stitches. Now I'm going to let the machine be in control again. I'm gonna repair my pattern. I'm gonna say closest stitch. I've got it hovering right over where I want it to be. I'm gonna hold it right there. Now I'm gonna push sew. It has to think about it for a second. There it goes. I'm gonna cut those threads right now. And it's exactly where I wanted it to be. You wouldn't see it, customer's not gonna see it. I see it because I've done it enough times to know exactly how to place that. So almost done with this row, and then I'm going to do my triangles and my borders. So I'm gonna place a block here in half of the triangle, and I'm gonna place one over here. Now come over here.
Okay.
Okay, you can start now.
It was only for seconds. So.
Okay, this is going to lock the stitches in place right now at the end of my design. I still can't move the machine until I've hit finished. Once I've hit finish, the machine is mine. And so what I need to do now is I'm going to do some blue thread, and I thought I would show how to do blue thread. This isn't my thread of choice, but it was the color that the customer wanted me to use. And so I'm just gonna switch from here. No, it's this one. I made a mistake one time and I put my
you ran your bobbin thread into there?
It was so that I could wind a bobbin once without having to go to the effort of changing threads. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that through. This is going to be my new thread. Oh, pulled right through the needle. Lucky.
Size 18 needles, you got to love them.
Size 18s are really handy for some things. I am going to change my bobbin thread because that's the way I quilt. And weirdly, on this particular quilt, I want to show people, the bobbin thread is so loose. It's just disgusting. But that's where the interlock ended up in my quilt for this one quilt. I don't know if it was the lighter thread that I'm using, but
yeah, darker thread, it has totally different
anyway, so my
characteristics.
bobbin is really loose. My top thread is a little bit tighter. Well, my top thread's really loose too. Okay, I'm changing my design. I want to use this half design right here.
Oh, that little corner.
I have a couple half designs, but this one's going to be weird because it's set up as a full square. And so I have to kind of tweak the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tape measure, and I want to measure, my design is going to be about 9 inches this way. Okay, this is 9 inches this way, so I am going to figure the other point would be 18 inches, and about right here is where I'm gonna set this design. And so then my next design, now I don't have quite enough room here.
Look where it went way over in the corner. Yeah. That's cool.
So my next corner is gonna go up there. My corner is gonna go here. And then my bottom corner is going to go as far as I can go. This is about it. Now, once again, how do I know that's going to line up in there? I'm going to mark my tools. I don't need those last ones, so I'm just going to mark this one.
Is there a clear button so you
Yeah,
clear it?
there's a remove all. So
Oh,
now I'm
okay.
just going to mark this so I can see where that design might land into place. I can't get the whole block in here, so I'm just going to go over. I noticed when I was quilting this that the thread does not show on this quilt block whatsoever. So I can quilt as much of it as I can.
But if somebody happened to be looking at it sideways, then they
So,
could probably see
now
that.
see, the problem I have is that I know from another design that this one little part is going to go over into my border. So I'm going to tweak this top corner over just a little bit so that that design will kind of go over. And it's a feather, it's half of a feather, so it will be just fine. Now when I go to quilt this, I can see it's lining up in there. I want it to start from the top. Oh,
So
it's
you-
going to. Okay.
So you knew that because since you had your little marker thing there, you could see where it was going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I ran into it with one of the first triangle blocks I did. So one weird thing is when I flip this design, it has a moving stitch right there where that blue marker is, and I just have to go with it. I can't figure out the way. It's whoever designed this corner block.
Didn't really design it for what
Well,
you're doing.
no, I don't know how it was done because I'm sure it was done on a different format than what I'm using here for my Grace quilter. So, and if you can see, you understand now when I say I can't really see the thread on the black block. And so this is the way I'm watching it. This is where it would normally skip the design and go to the other end. So when I flip the design over to do the other side of this quilt, it will have a jump stitch that I have to deal with right here.
Oh, that makes sense. Hang on a second. Oh, you already hit it? Okay.
Well, and on the other one, it will move all the way to the other corner. I already know that. So
Oh, okay. But
I
it's
just
still
have to deal
eventually,
with it. It's the same
it
design.
eventually fills in anyway.
It's the same design. I just have a jump stitch. I have to cut the threads on the back when I'm done.
Okay.
I don't know why it does it on one side and not the other. So right here, okay, that was, right there was exactly where I didn't want it to hit into my border. I'm going to quilt these borders with just by my hand. I mean, not hand quilted, but free motion quilt. I'm going to quilt the sashings free motion because I have a design I want to use that's not in the machine. This is a quilt for one of my local quilt shops, and it was a sample quilt, and it's going to hang up in the shop for probably half a year. And so I want it to look really nice, and then oftentimes people doing the same quilt will bring it to me and want to quilt it just exactly like the class sample. I always give the local quilt shops a discount of 25% if they use me for their quilting. And so I often get several quilts for display.
But also they recommend you to people as well, so it's a really good relationship.
I would just be involved with only sales, but I really have a love for the quilting, so I'm really thankful that I get to do this part once again. I was out of that loop for a few years, so I'm really happy to be able to put my finger back in that pie.
Yeah, well, I think that being able to not travel gives us more opportunities to help people that we always wanted to do, but we never could because we just didn't have the time.
Okay, I'm going to take an extra stitch or two when this is done. As far as I can go. I just kind of want to get it to the border there. So now I'm done. I'm going to break my threads. I am going to do a pantograph pattern now. So I'm going to go in here to my pantographs. I'm going to choose the pattern, which is this lady's design. And I want 2 patterns because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it sideways in my border here. It's not going to go across.
So edge to edge can be one direction
Yes.
or the other.
And I know from doing the top border that each design that I put in there, when I measured it, was 7.95 inches. And so
Make sure you write it down.
so what I did is 7.95 twice is about 15.9. So I'm going 15 3/4 is where I put my markers. Normally I would put a purple pen mark, but I can't see it on this fabric. So I've used a pin. And so now I'm going to place this design. It's going to be weird because I've got to kind of get this out of the way first.
So this is 4 points too then, huh?
Yeah. So I've got to kind of move this out of the way so that I can actually
Reorient it.
I gotta keep twisting it. So right up here is where I want my first marker of this.
See better.
Okay. My second marker is gonna be here. My third marker is gonna be down here. And my fourth marker is gonna be right there.
And there it is.
Okay, now I can kind of see that this design is going to be a little bit off, and so I'm going to kind of move that down a little bit so my line can be straight.
Oh, I see.
Can you see
Yeah.
how all the lines are straight now? Because
Yeah.
this is fabric and I'm measuring from side to side and I can't get a good horizontal line. So once again, I'm going to see if that fits in my...
Marking tool to the
So
rescue.
I'm going to mark it because this is a customer quilt. I don't want to fudge it up. I don't want this to go off the edge. It could. This is going to be inside the binding of the quilt. But I still want to see how far over it's going to go because I did not stitch the edges down on this quilt. Okay, if you can see that, now you can see that's going to be inside the lines. And I'm going to quilt this. It's going to start up here where I have ended the last part of that design. So I can either pull the bobbin or I can pull that bobbin myself. It's going to be in the same spot. I'm just going to have the machine pull the bobbin for me. Okay, there it goes.
So do you leave your needle there, the pin you have there?
I'll take it out in a second.
Oh, okay. But it's not going to stitch over it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why it does that sometimes and not other times.
So you can see the green is where it starts and the red is where it finishes.
Yes. And I'm sorry we're demoing this on a dark thread where we can't really see the design. So I rely on this a lot to see where I'm at. I'm going to cut my threads in a second. But if you measure right, it will be the proper distance away from the one right before. I was a little bit shy of that one. But that's how you do a pantograph on the side. You need to take the entire width and divide it by however many designs you want. And then you have to place them just a couple at a time. I'm not into turning the quilt when doing the last one. I think there's always puckers in the back when you do that. So I'm not into that part, but this will be good. Now I do stand here. I'm going to move this clamp as soon as it gets closer and put it toward the back of the quilt. I don't have a lot of backing fabric on this. That's my choice. That's the way I quilt.
Fabric is sacred. You don't want to waste it.
So this was a set of designs. If anyone's interested, I'll tell you where I got them. They were really pretty. I did them on a huge Lone Star quilt. So there's some really elaborate feathers that were already done. And since they were exact and I didn't have to design them, it worked out really good. And I've used the design several times in other quilts also.
So there are some times when there's a design that you want part of it, and then you can go edit that and then do your own thing, but a lot of times it's just easier to find a different
and that's a good example, because on another design I had to do a half square, and I did go in and edit a full square to be a triangle. That wasn't offered in that purchase design I did, so I did go into the Quilt CAD and I edited it so that I could get a corner of that and still have the same look. So that's a really good point. I did not have to on this design. That was available from this company that designed this.
That's one thing I really like about the QuiltMotion QCT6 Pro, and now they're doing 6.
Good.
So it just makes so that you can have the tools you need, patterns you need.
And yet it's still great for the beginner, because how easy was that for me to find the design I wanted and just download it and put it in these squares, and I have a gorgeous quilt, and I didn't have to do any of that designing. I didn't have to tweak with anything other than I turned a square on point. That was the only thing I did on these center blocks that was a little bit different from just placing a regular block. So that's it. When we do the borders, I'll show everyone the look when we're finished. There's 2 ways I can put that same design over in this border now. And I'll show you the way I'm going to do it. Let's see.
So it's kind of like what you did on that other block there in the middle. You just go in by touching it the different ways, you can reorient it.
That wasn't the way I wanted to do that.
Can you go and touch it somewhere else just to get it to turn?
Yeah. I made a mistake on that. So that's the way I'm going to do it.
No, it's
And
reversed.
I'll show you another way you could flip that. So now what's going to happen is my start point is going to be at the bottom, and I don't want it to be at the bottom. Well, first let me make sure it's going to be in my marking area. I don't always have to do this, but since this quilt wasn't made by me, some of the blocks are different sized a little bit, and we want to disguise that.
When in doubt, use the marking tool.
So am I inside all the way down? Maybe right here. The sashings sometimes aren't always straight. Whoops. I'm going to change that. Okay. Now, when I go to quilt this, it's going to say my start point is over here. And I don't want that. I want to start where my last design ended. And so I'll show you how that you can do that too. So when I'm in here, the green is going to be start and the red is finished. I want to go click this one that says optimize. And right here, there's a one that says reverse all. So now it's going to start up there.
Wow, that's cool. So is this the one where you can make it start where the last one left off?
I could, but let me go ahead and get this done before I play around with that.
Okay. But that was cool though, just being able to reverse all.
I'm holding my threads out of the way while it starts.
Smart.
Okay, we're going to do this corner so I can do this last row of the panto. And this is going to be my corner. I'm going to put it right here, but it's twisted. And so there's a few things I can do. And go back in here, select that corner. Now I can twist it here. Oh, I guess I don't want it that way. Okay, this is where I want it. I want the corner with the rays going out. And so I'm just going to set the corner. And I've marked where I want. Oh wow, it's almost exactly the right size. I'm trying to get those lines exactly straight on the design. Just that again. And my thread, I've got to. Okay, so I'm going to do the corner. And I want it to flip. So I want my start to be over here. So I'm just hitting that reverse all. Oops. Oh. Have to do it again. Okay, now I can just do this up. That's going to do the corner, then I will do the other corner, and then I will fill in on this very last row. Hard to see the blue on the blue, I know. Okay, I finished that corner. I'm going to do this corner, which would be way over here. So I'm going to flip this block, and now it would be perfect. So now I'm just going to set the block where I want it. And I know it will look funny, but it won't really be funny. And I've marked it exactly 9 inches, which is the size of my block. It looks like I need to come out on this one just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to start at this point where it's red. So once again, I'm going to hit optimize, and I'm going to do reverse all. It's that easy to start where I want it, not where it would normally start. So I've already pulled the bobbin thread because that's where my design ended, was in that exact spot. And it started right there where I needed it. You're going to show this?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Now I've done my corners. I'm going to do the middle of my border. So I need to go back and I select a pantograph. I know the one I want, and it's going to be this one. I want more than one. My design is from here to here, it's 79.5, and I know I want 10 designs in there. So you can either hit the plus or you can just type in 10. And this is what I want, and it's actually facing the right way that I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this design like I would any other design. I'm going to do it. There's my, oh, I need to place it as a single pattern.
Oh, where's that button? Just
right there.
Okay.
And now I'm going to hit that design.
Oh, cool.
Now
So it's basically like doing a block.
It is. It is just a long block.
That's cool.
And then I go way down over here. You can hear the belts rattling. I place that. And I've left this pin in here so I know exactly where to place this one. I pulled it out of the other side by mistake. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure it falls within the design and not go up into these other borders. So once again, I'm going to use my marking tool. And if you can see, the design goes up a little bit, and so that means my quilt wasn't square here at the end, but it won't show in the long run. But I'm still going to mark this. I'm going to, there's my, and I'm just going to touch this a few places along the path of this border because I know it's a little wavy, and so this will make it land right in place. Or it will let me tweak the design so I can make it land in place. I've already unpinned and trimmed this last side of the quilt. And then when I'm all the way finished, I am going to go back and do the sashings and the little corner squares with different colored threads. I'm going to change up the threads quite a bit to finish up the quilt. But the QuiltMotion part of this quilt will be finished in just a minute, and then give me another half an hour and we'll be able to pull it off the okay. Now if you can see, the red lines are what my border actually is. The blue is what the pantograph design would be. And let me just show you. So if I said that corner was there, you'd say, oh wait, that's not lining up in the design. So, you know, then you can go back and hit that design. So my main idea is I don't want these little points here to go up into this part of the border because I'm using navy thread on this, and on this border I will use a gold. And so that's the main part, and you can see the border wavers just a little bit, so it's not going to touch that border, but it's going to be close in some of these others. Looks like it's actually pretty good. So when I go to quilt it, I am going to want to start on that side because my threads always break less if you start on the left-hand side and quilt to the right. And so if you look, it's already over here. If those were backwards, I would just go into optimize and I would do a reverse all, and then it would start where I wanted it. But it's already starting where I want that. So I'll go ahead and do that. Perfect. So I know you can't see this design. but it's not going into that border. It's just barely touching there. It's just barely touching right there, so not quite to that design. So when I'm done with this, I can show a little bit of doing this border and what I would do on that border. We're going to do this little gold border here. I have done a design called bamboo in the sashings here, and I'm going to do the same in this border, only with a different color. I'm going to start over here, work my way over here, go up there, and then I'm going to keep unrolling the quilt until I get all the way around. So I'm just going to, it's a fun design, that's a good filler design. And I'll just work my way around the quilt. Okay, we're going to turn a corner with this. And one thing you just want to do is to try and make sure it gets into the... I'm going to turn a corner, and then I'm going to start up this way. So this way I didn't have to do a design with the Creative Touch QuiltMotion. And it's still a really nice design. When I make my way all the way back around, the thread color is the same as the border. I won't see where I'm at, so I'm just gonna put a little marker there. And when I roll it back and forth, this is the same horizontal to the
And so
bar.
you can roll it back and forth because
Without
obviously
any problem.
your top is not
it's
hooked up
on
anymore.
So I can roll back and forth, and then I'll go back and change to a red color thread and get these little corner posts, and then the quilt will be done.
Awesome. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know, like our video if you don't mind. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, if this was helpful to you, please let us know. And please share this, and hopefully we'll be able to help you to be able to really enjoy using QuiltMotion QCT6. We like the Pro version because it's so much more automated. But if you have the other versions and you need to learn how to do things in there that maybe are a little bit different, let us know and we'll help you out. Thanks.